Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Jonathan. I'm here at Florida CDL, and today we're going to be going over a Class B passenger vehicle inspection. I'll be using my checklist here and marking off as I go. First thing we're going to do is go inside the vehicle and do an in-vehicle inspection or the in-cab. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and start the in-vehicle inspection. First, I'm going to go ahead and start the bus and build the air pressure up to 120, 140, the governor cutoff. Then we'll go ahead and check the parking brake. So let's start the engine now. All right, so we have reached the governor cutoff between 120 to 140 pounds. So the first thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and check my bus parking brake. So I'll just leave the parking brake on, put the bus in drive, and gently touch the gas. All right, and we see the bus is not moving, so the parking brake is working properly. Go back to neutral. Now I'm gonna go ahead and test my service brakes. So I'm gonna move the bus forward at 5 miles an hour and stop with the service brake, checking if my steering wheel moves left or right. Release the parking brake, put the bus in drive. Go gently forward. And we brake. Now, as we can see, the wheel did stay straight, so the service brakes are working and we don't need any adjustments. In the case where the steering wheel moves left or right, you will explain that the brakes need adjustment. Now we'll go back to the starting position. All right, now we'll go ahead and put the bus back in neutral and put the parking brake back on. Now I'm gonna go ahead and wait for the air pressure to reach 120, 140, the governor cutoff. And there we are, the governor did cut off at 120 to 140. So we will go ahead and start the air brake check. So we need to turn the bus off. Put the switch on. And we're gonna push on the pedal just a little bit for now. I'm gonna release the parking brake, pump the pedal one time, and then rest our foot on the brake. Now I'm waiting for the air pressure to stabilize. Now the air pressure has stabilized. So I'm gonna go ahead and check that in 1 minute, I cannot lose more than 3 pounds. So we're gonna start the timer and pay attention to the air pressure gauges. All right, 1 minute has passed and the bus is not leaking. In the case where it does have a leak, we would just mention after 1 minute, the bus is leaking. Now we're gonna go ahead and mention at 55 pounds or before, the air brake alarm will activate. So we're gonna start pumping or fanning the brake pedal. There goes the air brake alarm. It is working properly. Now between 20 and 45 pounds, my parking brake will activate. So again, we're gonna pump or fan the brake. All right, and now the parking brake has activated, which means it is working properly. And now I have finished the air brake check. So we can cross off parking and trailer brake, service brake, and the air brake check. Next on my checklist, I have the lighting indicators. So I'm gonna first mention that the DEF and ABS lights have turned on and off. They are working properly. Next, I'm gonna mention my left turn signal, right turn signal are working properly. My four-way flashers are working properly. Then I have my low beam and high beam are also working properly. Next, we have the emergency equipment. So I'm gonna mention my red box of 3 reflective triangles, which is over here. Secure in the red box. Next, I will mention my full charged fire extinguisher secured to the clamp, and I can check it's full with the gauge. And we also have 1 box of extra fuses. Next, we have the windshield and traffic monitoring devices. So first we have the windshield, properly mounted and secure, with no cracks, clean and visible, no illegal stickers, and no obstructions. Next, we have the traffic monitoring devices. So all the mirrors, or we can mention traffic monitoring devices, are properly mounted and secure. They have no cracks, they're clean and visible, and all set to my position. All right, now after explaining the windshield and traffic monitoring devices, we're gonna go ahead and move to the wipers and washers. So first we're gonna mention that the wipers are working properly. Then we're gonna mention the wiper arm, wiper blade, and wiper rubber are all secure with no cracks or cuts. And check that the washer fluid is working properly. Next, I have my heater and defrost. So first we'll start with the heater, putting the fan on, putting it facing you, and making sure that the heat is on. The heater is working. Next, we'll check the defrost. Turn the middle one all the way to the right. Check on top, and the defrost is working properly. Next, I will inspect my city horn or the electric horn, working properly. Now we have finished part of the portion of the in-vehicle inspection. Next, we will go ahead and move on to the passenger entry and lift. All right, guys, so first we're gonna go ahead and inspect the passenger entry and lift. So I'm gonna first mention that the door is properly mounted and secure with no damage, and opens and closes properly and is securely closed from the inside. Next, I will inspect my handrails. They're all securely mounted to the bus with no damage. And we will also check that the step light is working properly. So I'll go ahead and turn the low beam lights on and go ahead and open the door. And we can see that the step light is working properly. I'll go ahead and close the door and turn our low beams off. Next, we're going to go ahead and mention that the entry steps are properly mounted and secure. They are clear and the tread is not loose or worn. Now we'll go ahead to the back of the vehicle and explain the passenger lift. So with buses equipped with a passenger lift, we're going to explain that the passenger lift is properly mounted and secure with no missing parts, no damage, and it is not leaking. The lift is also fully retracted and completely latched. So there we have passenger entry and lifts. Next, we're gonna go ahead and mention the emergency exits. So I'm gonna make sure that all my emergency exits are properly labeled and they have smooth operation, which they can open and close properly from the inside and outside. So I will go ahead and demonstrate the functionality of the warning device and the smooth operation of one of my emergency exits. So we will go ahead and lift the handle, open and close, and we can see that the emergency exit is working properly. And I will inspect all the other emergency exits, windows, and hatches the exact same way. From there, we finish emergency exits. Next, I'm going to go ahead and check my passenger seating. So we're going to first mention that all the passenger seats or chairs are securely mounted to the frame with no missing parts or damage. And we will also mention that all the cushions for the seats are properly mounted and secured to the seat frames with no missing parts or any damage. That covers passenger seating. Next, we'll go ahead and inspect passenger monitoring devices. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and mention the passenger monitoring devices. So first we're going to inspect all the passenger mirrors and brackets on the inside and outside. They are all properly mounted and secure with no cracks or bends and no missing parts. And they are also all properly adjusted and clean. Next, in this bus, we also have cameras for passenger monitoring devices. So we're going to go ahead and mention that the cameras are properly mounted and secure, clean, not cracked or damaged, and they are adjusted properly for the passengers. So now from there, we finish passenger monitoring devices. All right, now we will go ahead and start the lights operation check, or all external lights. In this moment, I'm going to go ahead and involve the examiner with helping me check the lights on the outside, starting with the front of the bus. All right, sir, we're going to start with the left turn signal.
Working.
Right turn signal.
Working.
Four-way flashers.
Working.
My low beam lights.
Working.
High beam.
Working.
And also my clearance and side marker lights.
Working.
All right. Now, sir, can you go to the back of the bus? All right, sir, starting with the left turn signal.
Working.
Right turn signal.
Working.
My four-way flashers.
Working.
My brake lights.
Working.
As well as my tail lights and clearance lights.
Working.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, guys, now finishing with the in-vehicle inspection, we're going to go ahead and come outside of the bus or the Class B vehicle and start with the front of the vehicle inspection. Now, here on my checklist, the first thing I have to cover is the lenses. So we're going to mention headlights, side markers, and the clearance light lenses. They are all secure, not cracked, broken, or missing, and in the proper color. Next here, I have fluid levels. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the hood and start with the coolant tank. Now first, for the fluid level, we have here the coolant tank. It is properly mounted and secure with no cracks or leaks and in the proper level. Next, we'll go to the other side. Now, continuing with the fluid levels, we'll go ahead and mention our engine oil dipstick. It needs to be between add and full. To check that, we're gonna remove the stick. Make sure you clean it, put it back in or reinsert it. Take the dipstick out and check the oil level. Next, we're going to check our power steering tank, or you can mention reservoir. It is properly mounted and secure with no cracks or leaks and in the proper level. Next on my checklist, I have fluid and air leaks. So there we're going to mention all the engine hoses and air lines are properly mounted and secure on both sides with no cracks or leaks. And under my engine, there are no puddles and no dripping in the engine compartment. Next here we have the steering system. So first we're going to mention that the steering box is properly mounted and secure to the chassis with no cracks or leaks, no missing bolts and nuts. And all my steering hoses are properly mounted and secure on both sides with no cracks and no leaks. Next, for the steering system, we're going to go ahead and mention the steering arm, steering link, my upper control arm, the lower control arm, and just down there we have our tie rod. So they are all properly mounted and secure. They have no rust, no bends. There's no missing bolts, castle nuts, or cotter pins. And my joints and sockets are all secure. They are clean and greased and have no play. All right, that finishes the steering system. Next, we're gonna move to the steering axle. First on the checklist we have is the tires. So my tires are properly mounted and secure. They have no cracks, no cuts or bubbles. There are no bumps or bulges on my sidewalls. My tires have good air pressure, and I can check that with a pressure gauge to the valve stem. The valve stem and cap are secure with no cracks or leaks, and my cap is on tight. Now my front tires, they have more than 432 inch of thread, and the rear tires have more than 232 inch of thread. Next, we're gonna move to the rims. They are properly mounted and secure with no cracks, no bends, no illegal welds, and no rust. Next, I have all my lug nuts. They are present and tight, not loose. There is no rust or damage, and no shiny threads or broken studs. Next on my checklist, I have the spring mounts. So the spring mounts are properly mounted and secure on both sides to my chassis. No cracks, bends, no illegal welds, no missing bolts or nuts, and no missing or damaged bushing. Next, we have the leaf springs, properly mounted and secure on both sides to my spring mounts. They're not broken, cracked, or missing. They're not shifted, and the vehicle is sitting level. Next, we have our shock absorber. The shock absorber is properly mounted and secure on both sides with no cracks or leaks and no missing bolts or nuts. All right, so now we finished spring mounts and shocks. Next, we're gonna move to brake lines and hoses and the leaks. So here we're gonna mention the brake hose is properly mounted and secure on both sides to the coupling and fitting with no cracks or leaks, and it can supply air, or we can mention the air is passing through. After that, I have brake contaminants. So there we're gonna cover the brake shoes and the brake drums. They are properly mounted and secure. They have no cracks or bends. They are not worn, and there is no oil or grease on them. All right, and as of now, I have finished the front of the vehicle inspection. All right, guys, now finishing the front of the engine inspection, we're gonna go ahead and move to the side of the vehicle. Now, first thing here on my checklist is the traffic monitoring devices, or the mirrors. So all the mirrors are properly mounted and secured to the brackets. They have no cracks, they're clean and visible with no missing bolts or nuts. The brackets are properly mounted and secured to the bus with no cracks or bends and no missing bolts or nuts. Next on the checklist, we have the batteries. So we're gonna go ahead to the other side of the bus or the vehicle. All right, guys, now we're gonna go ahead and inspect the batteries. So first we're gonna mention that the battery cover opens and closes properly. I'm gonna go ahead and slide these batteries out. Next, we'll go ahead and mention that all the batteries are properly mounted and secure with no cracks or leaks. All my cables and connections, they are secure with no cracks or cuts, and there are no corrosion on the batteries. Slide this back in. All right. Next, we're gonna go ahead and mention the fuel or the diesel tank. It's right back here. So we're gonna go ahead and mention that the diesel tank is properly mounted and secured to the chassis with no cracks or leaks, no missing bolts or nuts, and the cap is secure and tight. Now we'll go ahead to the other side and start with the depth tank up in the front of the bus. All right, guys, now we would inspect the depth tank. In this moment, it is not accessible, but when it is, we will explain that the depth tank is properly mounted and secured to the chassis with no cracks or leaks, no missing bolts or nuts, and the cap should be secure and tight. Now, from the fuel and the depth tank, we would move to the frame of the bus. Just gonna go under here. Now, inspecting the frame of the bus, the frame is properly mounted and secure with no missing or damaged frame members. And all my frame members are properly mounted and secure with no cracks, no broken welds, and no holes. And the cargo area has no holes. All right, guys, now inspecting the rear of the vehicle, we're gonna go ahead and mention the lenses. We're gonna mention the tail light and clearance light lenses. They are all secure, not cracked, broken, or missing, and in the proper color. Next, we're gonna go ahead and mention the DLT reflector tape, properly mounted and secure, not cracked or damaged, clean, and in the proper color. And now, we have finished the Class B passenger vehicle inspection.